Has podcasting hit a plateau? Have we seen all we're going to see in podcasting? Has the medium reached its saturation point? And much more. Coming up today here on the Podcast Accelerator with me, Mark Asquith, CEO and co-founder here at Rebel Base Media. Welcome to the show and thank you for joining me. It's always a pleasure. You know what? I'm going to dig into whether podcasting, as it enters its teenage years, has it really hit that plateau? But I just want to give a quick shout out before I do that to a couple of things really. Number one, AWeber. Just give them a try if you fancy really engaging with your podcast audience via some quality email marketing. It's not easy to build a raving fan base, but AWeber certainly helps me along and has helped me to achieve the success that I wanted with my podcast and then subsequently with my businesses here at Rebel Base Media. So please go and check them out. You can actually get 90 days of AWeber's amazing email marketing platform totally free over at markasquith.com/AWeber. And I know you're a podcaster. I know you love podcasting just like I do. Maybe it's time to try a podcast host that loves you as much as you love podcasting. Go and check out our podcast hosting platform, Captivate.fm, where you can start a 7-day free trial and look at what all the fuss is about. Why is Captivate making waves in podcasting? Go and see for yourself for free for 7 days at Captivate.fm. Now, podcasting is absolutely everywhere these days. Here in the UK, we're getting more and more requests through Rebel Base Media to work on consultancy and brand strategy and all sorts of amazing little things. We've got the podcast studio, and the demand for it is just through the roof at the minute. But I want to just kind of think about this. We're always hearing about this golden age of podcasting, but I've got another take on it. As podcasting enters its teenage years, has it hit a plateau? I don't know. Has it hit a plateau? Well, let me give you a bit of an insight into this, why I started thinking about this. I mean, discoverability is still really, really hard. My good friend Evo Terra and people like Tom Webster have been talking really about this, these challenges around discoverability, around these kind of siloed communities that are popping up in podcasting. And what I'm seeing more and more is tech companies, businesses popping up, trying to get into podcasting and spend a lot of time making money from podcasters. Now I've seen workflow tools pop up, which I think are absolutely pointless, especially when your host, such as Captivate, should be doing a lot of that legwork with you. I've seen so many different community style options where you can tip a podcaster or you can join the chat for a podcaster pop up as well. And you know what? They're all right, but I just feel like it's just a way of startups trying to make a bit of cash. And yeah, all right, there is a problem there, building community and all that kind of side of things. But actually, is creating another place to put your podcast listeners, is that the right choice? I don't think it is, personally. I've got some thoughts on that, and it's something that we are looking to crack with productivity as well, but we're going to approach that a little differently. It's a bit more agnostic, and I think that is the way that podcasting should be focusing. You know, let people do what they want to do in the places that they want to do it, and you should be there. And that's something that Evo talks about a heck of a lot as well. Did a great episode on podcast pontifications earlier this week on it. But what about this plateau? Well, we hear about this golden age of podcasting all the time. I don't think there was ever a golden age of podcasting. You know, it's very easy to say that everything's working in podcasting. No, it's not. It's not. Not everything is working in podcasting. It's quite simply not, okay? The challenge is that, like I said, this golden age never really existed. It just became a little bit more well-known. Podcasting has been around for years and years, since 2004, 2005, since the RSS version 2 specs came out and the enclosure tag was starting to kind of kick in. When it has had an audience, with the people, the aficionados, the people that loved it, the golden age has been since then, you know. So now the media's jumping on it. You're getting kind of business people jumping on it, thinking that they invented it. You're starting to see people kind of jumping on the bandwagon, saying this is the golden age of podcasting. It isn't. If anything, I believe it's hit a plateau. Now, let me explain that. Podcasting, there's more money in it than there's ever been before. The adoption rates are huge. That's true, all right? People are still discovering podcasting both from a creation and a listener perspective. But I believe it's hit a plateau for one big reason. Content. No one is producing innovative content. Now, again, this is something that we're kind of working on. We're working on it with a good friend of mine, Mr. Jordan Harbinger. We've got some ideas throwing about there. We're working on it here at Captivate, working on it with productivity. New styles of content. What can we do that's really, really interesting and innovative? Now, there's a lot of audio dramas, a lot of docuseries, which are wonderful. The guys at Wondery do a great job. But the reason I believe that podcasting has hit a bit of a plateau as it enters its teenage years is because what was working a few years ago, what was getting the big traffic a few years ago, just perhaps isn't quite seen as having the same lure, the same draw as it did back then. The interview shows, the cookie cutter, copy and paste style shows, the let's research something and then just read it out style shows. The shows that, frankly, make up a lot of the categories in Apple Podcasts, or the previous categories, maybe not so much the new ones, but the previous categories where you'd get one person succeeding in a niche and then you'd get a mass tribe of 20,000 podcasts essentially copying that podcaster. That's why it's hit a plateau. It's hit a plateau in content innovation, okay? And this is where it needs to move forward. You know, think about some of the most fantastic shows that we've seen out on TV recently over the last 10 years. You know, look back at 24. Arguably, and maybe even not arguably, I'd say absolutely, started the trend for big movie stars, big Hollywood stars, starring in conceptual TV shows. Can you think of a big movie star that starred in a TV show before Kiefer Sutherland did it and went from movies to TV, not the other way? You know, I can't think of one. But then a conceptual TV show, you know, 24 was there with its concept of a 24-episode season that was an hour in real time, each particular episode. And then we saw all sorts of things like that cropping up. We've seen the big stars then jumping in to big budget TV shows. Okay, we've seen that time and time again now, and the lines are blurred. Martin Freeman is a great example. One of the most revered actors on the planet, started life in the UK office, still does ITV and BBC TV shows whilst doing Black Panther. You know, that just simply didn't happen. Back in the day, it didn't happen, okay? And I do believe this is where podcasting has hit a bit of a plateau, okay? Yes, there's technology being created. Yes, there's money flowing through it. But where's the content innovation? Where is the content innovation? I think it will be this that poses one of the biggest challenges to the medium over the next 5 years. Those who innovate and deliver quality content and actually push the boundaries of what can be done with content will win. Okay? Those that sit back and just keep producing because, well, it's good for my networking. Guess what? Your numbers probably aren't going to go up. Yeah, sure, you'll build your network, but you know what? You'll probably pod fade after a few years because it's hard. You know, there's a lot of work. It is. So, just me I guess, throwing just some ideas around, me kind of just, in the words of Evo, just pontificating a little bit. Please go and check out Evo's show. Massive fan of what Evo's doing with his show, Podcast Pontifications. Big fan of what Tom's doing, Tom Webster and his team. And just there's a lot of people giving great opinions out there that are trying to, again, in Evo's words, advance podcasting. And you know, I'd like to think that I'm a small part of that, but I'm by no means the only voice in that field. So please go and check out certainly Tom Webster and certainly Evo Terra. Go and check them out. They're up to fantastic things. And, you know, these guys are producing content that's not there just to sell their product. You see a lot of people putting opinion pieces out and content pieces. Some of the hosting companies, some of the more tech-oriented companies that are just putting content out, frankly, that's angled to make you want to use their service, okay? It's not about that. If you truly care about moving the medium forward, you know, we really should be putting content out that is more agnostic, more open. And I've got a big piece that I'm going to be putting out over the next week or so, which is in that vein as well. And I'll talk about that on this show too. So listen, thank you so much for joining me. It's always a pleasure. I really appreciate you spending this time with me. If you know anyone in podcasting that wants another show about podcasting in their life that takes less than 10 minutes to get through per episode, let them know about this show. They can find it on all of the usual outlets. And of course, it's free to listen to. Now, if you do want to try a podcast host that really cares about you, that is very much focused on your growth, that cares about how you are supported through your podcasting journey, please go and try that 7 days totally free on Captivate.fm. It's making some serious waves, and I want you to be a part of that. So please, you've got nothing to lose. Go and give it a whirl at Captivate.fm. And until the next time, thanks for joining me, and never forget, the more you expect from yourself, the more you will excel.